guys, welcome to the fifth episode of the Book Nook. I'm your host Olivia Aim, and for today's episode, I'm going to be talking about my favorite books from every single genre. I'm very excited about this episode, so let's get started. So first, for dystopian, my favorite book is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. This is one of the best dystopian books I've ever read, and I'm not even exaggerating, like genuinely it is one of the best dystopian books I've ever read. It's very original and creative. I love the plot. In this book, it takes place in this dystopian society where death doesn't really exist because everyone lives forever. They figured out a way to make people live forever, and so they never die. But to keep the population under control, the government created scythes, and they have a very important job in society, which is to kill people. They don't call it killing; they call it gleaning. So these scythes just glean people to keep the population from growing too big. The protagonists are Citra and Rowan, who are apprentices in training to become scythes. And this book really follows their journey as they learn the harsh realities of being scythes and all of the flaws in their society. So I think that Citra and Rowan's character development and growth is very significant in this book, which is great. I love this book. This book is amazing. So, yeah. And for historical fiction, my favorite book in this genre is The Girl in the Blue Coat by Monica Hess. It takes place during the Holocaust. The protagonist, Haneke, has to look for a missing girl named Mirjam, and Haneke is in the black market. She sells illegal goods to people. And this book is very interesting as well. It's very intriguing. There are a lot of elements of mystery in this book, and there's also a huge plot twist at the end that I was not expecting, so that is very interesting. I'm gonna rate this a 9 out of 10. I already talked about this book for my first episode of the Book Nook, so I'm not gonna go into too much depth with that. And for classics from all of the classic literature, my favorite book is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I already talked about this in my second episode where I talked about the most memorable books of my junior year. But The Great Gatsby it's amazing. It is one of the best books I've read in my whole life. In general, like from all the books I've read, it's one of the best books. It's definitely up there. It is a 10 out of 10 book. I highly recommend this book to everyone. I think everyone should read this book at least once because it can teach you a lot of important lessons, and I think this book is so special. Amazing. I love all the characters. I love the setting. I love the plot. The only bad thing about this book is what happens at the end to Gatsby. It is not a happy ending for him, unfortunately. And Gatsby is he is my favorite character in the whole book. He's basically the only likable character, so it's really sad how Gatsby ends up, but the book in general as a whole is very good. So highly recommend that. Now, for romance, my favorite book in this genre would have to be 5 Feet Apart by Mickey Daughtry, Rachel Lippincott, and Tobias Iaconis. So, the protagonists are Stella and Will. They have to stand 5 feet apart because they both have CF or cystic fibrosis. This book is very interesting in the way that it explores love and romance between characters that can never touch or be near each other. Since they both have CF, they are not allowed to touch each other, so that dynamic is very interesting. They have a very interesting relationship in that way. So, yeah, this book is very unique. It's very different from other romance books because I feel like in this book there was actually a genuine love and a deep connection between the characters instead of just a shallow physical attraction in other romance books, because I feel like other romance books focus more on lust rather than love. So that's why I like this particular book, and the movie for this book was also beautiful. I almost cried when I was watching 5 Feet Apart. It was amazing. This book is very heartwarming. It really tugs at your heartstrings, and yeah, prepare to cry. Prepare to cry for this book. That's all I'm gonna say about that. it's a solid 8 out of 10 book. Yeah, now moving on to science fiction. My favorite book from this genre is A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. This book follows Meg, her brothers Charles Wallace, Calvin, Mrs. Who, Mrs. Watson, and Mrs. Witch. So they travel through time and space to rescue Meg's father. And Meg also saves her brother, who was captured by the antagonist. So this book was a little confusing when I read it the first time, but then when I read it again, I definitely understood it better. And I love the theme of love and how good always triumphs over evil. The movie for this book was also pretty good as well. I would rate it a solid 7 out of 10. Alright, now for fantasy, my favorite book is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. It's a classic fantasy book. I read it in 7th grade. No, 6th grade. Yeah, 6th grade. This is the best book in the whole series, honestly, and the movie was pretty good too. The movie is very good. I love the actors, Dan Radcliffe and Emma Watson, Rupert Grint. All the actors were so talented and so amazing, and I really like the plot for this. It definitely kept me hooked, and I was very engaged throughout the book. It's very interesting. I'm not a big fan of the last few books in this series because I think the books kind of get progressively worse as you go through the series. But the first book, The Sorcerer's Stone, it is great. It's amazing, exceptional, and very creative. So I would rate it an 8 out of 10. Okay, now for mystery. My favorite book from this genre is The West End Game by Ellen Raskin. It's a pretty old book, but I really liked it a lot. It's not your typical mystery book. It's very unique, and because at the end there's no real culprit, so that part is interesting. The protagonist is Turtle Wexler, and she and all the other people that live in Sunset Towers are chosen by Samuel Westing in his will to play the Westing game, a game in which people have to figure out who killed him. This book doesn't include a lot of suspense like other mystery books do, but it was still very intriguing. And this book was so unpredictable, honestly. I love plot twists. I'm a big fan of plot twists, and this book has a huge plot twist at the end, so yeah, I love when books have plots that are really unique and different, which is why this particular book stood out to me. And I don't really read a lot of mystery books in general. It's not a genre that I read a lot, but this book in particular stood out to me. This book was really great, so I'm gonna rate it a 7 out of 10. And for young adult books, my favorite book is The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. I love this book so much. It takes place in Tulsa, Oklahoma in the 1960s. This book, it really explores the complex social classes and differences between certain groups in society. So in this society, there are associates and greasers, which are two rival gangs. The protagonist is Ponyboy Curtis, a greaser, and some other characters are Soda Pop, Dairy Dally, Two-Bit, and Cherry. I love the theme of friendship in this book. I think it was beautifully written by S.E. Hinton, and she wrote it when she was only 16, which is so impressive. And for this book, I really want to watch the musical of this book, the Broadway musical. I already listened to the whole soundtrack. I think the whole soundtrack is amazing. I love all the songs, especially Stay Gold. Stay Gold is an amazing song. So hopefully I can watch the musical someday soon. But for the book, I would rate it a 10 out of 10. Yeah. Okay, so now for allegory. This one was a little hard to choose because there's so many good allegories out there, like Animal Farm and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the whole Narnia series. But for this one, my favorite allegory would be The Lord of the Flies by William Golding. So I read this book during sophomore year, so 2 years ago in English class, and honestly, I wasn't expecting to love this book, but I somehow did. At the end, I did grow to like this book. So, yeah, in this book, a group of boys are stranded on an island because their plane crashed, and the main characters are Piggy, Ralph, Jack, and Simon. And this book really explores their adventures as they try to survive on the island with no food, no adults, and no escape. This book really explores powerful ideas of morality and people's moral compass. So as the book progresses, the boys eventually turn into savages and they resort to murder. So they completely abandon their previous morals and values for survival. This book represents the consequences of lack of civilization, rules, and order. And although the ending was very sad because boys die, I think this is an important book for everyone to read, and it really has a great underlying message. So I'm gonna rate it an 8 out of 10. Alright, now for memoir. My favorite memoir is An Invisible Thread by Laura Scroff. I already talked about this before on the Book Nook, but I just want to mention it again. It is such a heartwarming, tear-jerking, true story about Laura and Maurice's unique friendship. Laura was a woman in New York, and Maurice was a little boy when the book takes place. He was a homeless, poor boy living on the streets, and Laura sees him and she helps him a lot. She buys him food. But not only does she give him food, but she also just gives him friendship and love, the love that he didn't have from his family, and she kind of served as a mother figure to him, which is so sweet. And this whole book is very wholesome, and I love the themes of kindness and compassion. I think this book is a book that everyone needs to read. It's definitely the type of book that the world needs. So I am gonna rate it a 9 out of 10. Alright, so for autobiographies, um, I don't read autobiographies that much, but I guess my favorite one would be I'm Malala by Malala. And this book really is very inspiring because of how Malala stood up to the Taliban. She advocated for her right to an education and for women's rights, and just in general, because where she was living, she did not have the right to an education. She wasn't able to learn with other people. Only men were able to learn. Girls did not have that right. So I think it's very inspiring what she did. And she wrote this when she was only 17, I think. She wrote it when she was young, so that is very impressive. And she is also the youngest Nobel Prize winner, so that's amazing. Yeah. All right. So okay, I'm also gonna do poems and short stories. I know poems and short stories aren't really genres. They're not actual genres, but I still want to include them because they're like categories of literature. So for poems, my favorite poem is Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. I'm just gonna read the first stanza. It says, Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without words and never stops at all. So that first stanza is so beautifully written. I love the metaphor of comparing a bird to hope. It's very powerful, and it illustrates how hope can fly into your heart just like a bird and can bring a lot of beauty to your life. My second favorite poem is Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. I love the powerful themes of resilience and perseverance. So, yeah, I had two favorite poems. For short stories, my favorite short story is Thank You Ma'am by Langston Hughes. So, I think everyone's read this in school at one point. I read this when I was in sixth grade, and I just love the book. Wait, I love this short story. I love the characters. I love how um she helped the little boy, and it is a very amazing book. So, I mean, it is a very amazing short story. So, yes, those are my favorite books and short stories and poems from every genre. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and comment down below. Also, check out the official Book Nook Instagram for some more fun content. And tune in next week for my next episode. I have new episodes every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm your host, Olivia M., signing off.